RCB will be entering the IPL for the first time as a defending champion. So how does that tag sit on your team, lightly, or is it an added pressure on you?
In direct answer to your question, lightly, I think, because it was a hugely proud moment for us last year. We know that the organization, the franchise, has been working hard for many years to get that star on our shirts. And that's probably embodied most in Virat's commitment to the franchise over such a long period of time. And so to have the result that we got last year was a hugely proud and satisfying moment, very satisfying professionally for everyone, of course, but a really emotional time for all sorts of reasons at the end of last season. So we look back on that with very fond memories. But in saying that, I would also say that it's now 2026, and we're focusing. We're looking forward to tomorrow's game. We're looking forward to this season's challenge, and it's another time. So it's time to move on from that win.
Andy, I assume Josh Hazelwood is here yesterday. So can you give us an update on how fit is he, when is he cleared to play? And also, can you just give us what your thoughts on the three domestic fast bowlers that's there in the squad? Rasik, then Mangesh and Abhinandan.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so Hazelwood did arrive yesterday. He's looking fit. I did comment to him that he looks even younger than I remember him. So he's enjoyed some good downtime, but he's worked hard to get himself back up to full fitness. We've been liaising closely with Cricket Australia on his fitness and his arrival time. So it's great to have him here. It's even great to have him here in our dressing room and in the meetings. He won't be ready for tomorrow because he's just got off the plane. And we'll be monitoring his fitness very closely and looking forward to him making his entrance into the IPL. Second half of your question around the Indian seamers. Obviously, Yash is not with us this year, unfortunately. So we have Mangesh, Abhi and Rasik all competing for a place. I'm not going to tell you now who's playing tomorrow, but we're happy with recruiting Mangesh, a left-arm seamer, to replace Yash Dayal. We're also happy with Abhinandan's progress. He's bowled a lot more in matches just recently, played in the recent DYP competition and did really well. And I think Rasik is a better bowler than he was last year. He's obviously been working very hard himself, and he shows a lot of qualities that could stand him in really good stead if he gets the chance in this tournament. So we're happy with those three Indian seamers.
Yeah, hi. Recently, a lot has been spoken about the impact player rule in the captain's meet. A lot of captains, Akshar Patel, Shubman Gill, Hardik Pandya, they've spoken about how they're not in favor of this rule. Personally, how do you look at it? And do you think in order to increase the entertainment quotient, are we reducing the competitiveness of the tournament by doing that?
I don't like sitting on the fence on stuff, but I'm going to give a couple of arguments. I think it has been a good innovation. It's interesting. It's interesting to be part of when you're making decisions on the impact player. Sometimes the timing of the input from the impact player. And I think it's interesting for the audience and the followers to debate what's right and what's wrong. And so tactically, it's quite an interesting addition to the game. I must say, though, that one of the things I love about cricket is that when you select an 11, one of the challenges you have is balancing your 11. So balancing the length of the batting order, balancing perhaps some guys that can't field that well, and taking those things into consideration. And it's one of the things that makes selection a little bit tricky. The impact player rule hides that selection problem a little. So I think one of the great things about cricket are some of the debates around selection and when you select perhaps single skill players, you weaken another area of your game. The impact player can hide that, So there are pros and cons, I think, to it.
Hi, Andy.
Hi.
RCB waited a long time for the title, we all know. So does defending it feels like an added responsibility or a fresh motivation for you all?
I think when we go into these jobs and we represent our owners and our franchise and we represent each other, that always carries a responsibility and an accountability about how we conduct ourselves. But moving into this IPL, it's just, I think it's just tremendously exciting that, of course, that we are the holders from last year, but this is a brand new year, and we are all looking forward to this challenge. You know, one of the truths in life is that change is always there. It's always happening, and we're a different group. We've got different personnel. Guys are all a year older. Our opponents have changed and evolved in certain ways. Conditions might be very different. You know, we haven't played in Chinnaswamy for a long time. There haven't been games here for many months. So the square might be a little bit different. And so the challenge of this IPL is completely different to the last one, and we're going to enjoy this challenge. Yeah.
Andy, the Chinnaswamy Stadium has been a bit tricky for RCB in recent seasons. We're talking about the challenges of playing here. What sort of assessments have you made about the conditions here, and what do you think is the key to have a winning record here in Chinnaswamy?
Yeah, I think it's a really relevant question. I'm obviously not going to go into that much detail about it because I don't want to talk about all our lessons on the conditions in Chinnaswamy. But we have had them. You know, we lost our first 3 matches here at Chinnaswamy last year, and we did learn from those experiences. As I've just said, conditions might be slightly different in this first game. We'll have to see. I haven't been out to look at the pitch today yet. I'll go out there right now. But I think the salient point is that at your home venue you should be able to have a better understanding about the nuances of the conditions than your opposition. We've been practicing here for 10 days, and we've talked about it. So I would like to think that we will be slightly ahead of the opposition on our own surface. We will see tomorrow night at 7:30.
Yeah, Andy, like Rohit, this is the first IPL that Virat is entering as one format international. Have you had discussions on what are the challenges of playing just one? I mean, neither of them has played a match for more than 2 months. So the challenges of just playing one format and not being in touch with competitive cricket?
We have chatted about that, actually. And I really enjoy, I've always enjoyed watching top-class players practice as much as play in games. I find it really interesting to watch them practice. You know, when I was playing, I used to enjoy watching Sachin practice, for instance. The same goes here, even though I'm coaching. I really enjoy watching masters of their art do their thing. So I've been watching really closely. He looks on top of his game. He looks super fit. I was watching him do shuttles the other day. He looks light on his feet, very fit, very lean, very hungry. He's always been very hungry and determined. And I think that mental and emotional space that he's in is I think he's in a really good spot. And watching him time the ball and strike the ball in training, I think he's at the peak of his powers. So he's aware of the fact that he's playing less, but at the moment he looks at the top of his game.
Hi, Andy. With the IPL hasn't even started. There's been a rash of pullouts actually, and most of it seems to be bowlers who are injured and not available. So you have been hit. Your opponents tomorrow, Sunrisers, have been hit. do you foresee, given the absence of a lot of quality bowlers, do you foresee this tournament being, decided by batting more just because of that, because everybody is missing a lot of bowlers? And just briefly, you said you have practiced here for 10 days. What has been the dew conditions like, and is it going to be a factor at all?
Second bit first, there hasn't been much troublesome dew in the evenings, although we have been finishing quite early. So there has been a little bit of dew, but it hasn't been particularly heavy. On the bowling, I think there are many games in IPL are dominated by some incredible batting. The batting standards in this tournament are incredible. So I would imagine that will continue. Of course, there are highly skilled practitioners in the art of bowling as well. And we're all looking for a nice balance between bat and ball, and the administrators are always trying to tweak the rules to make sure that there's a balance between bat and ball, because that's what the spectators want to see. They don't want to see only one area being dominated. So I think this is a tournament that's generally dominated by batsmen. I can see that continuing. But there are some outstanding bowlers. We're going to see Hazelwood come back into our team pretty soon, and he was just sensational last year. Bhuvi is still doing his thing. He looks as sharp as ever and as smooth as ever. So we'll enjoy watching them as well.
Andy, you've been, regarded as a super coach in this format, success wherever you've gone to, and why is that the case? And the other part of the question is that how easy or how hard is it to choreograph this format from the dugout?
What was the second part of your question?
How easy or how hard is it to choreograph this format sitting from the dugout?
Yeah, I'm more comfortable answering the second part of the question. Thanks, I'll do that. I enjoy being in the dugout. It's nice being that close to the action. I wouldn't use that phrase. There's no choreography really going on. I think a lot of a coach's work is done before the game gets underway. Of course, there's timeouts. There's a little bit of communication that you can have with your captain or your players during the game. But a lot of the work is done before the game. And then you're trusting your players to go out there and make a series of pretty good decisions. No one's perfect, but if they're making pretty good decisions, the sum of them sort of add up in the end. Sitting in the dugout is great fun. Usually I sit quite close to Mo, and we're talking about the game, and usually sort of sitting around the specialist coaches. It's quite hard to get hold of DK because he's always jumping up and down and moving about a lot. But I like being close to our specialist coaches so that we can talk about the game. And if we have input, we occasionally give that. But it's important to trust your players to go out there and make decisions.
Yeah. Andy, can you talk us through the captain, vice captain combined, Rajat and Jitesh, how they work in sync? And also it was a slight deviation from the norm when you named him as captain, because he was like, in many ways, largely an Indian player, not like the international superstar leading a team. So a year on, how has this combination of Rajat and Jitesh evolved as personalities within the group, and how does that bode well with the team at large?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing actually that in Rajat's first year of captaincy, he's led RCB to the trophy. He'd only had a little bit of captaincy experience before that, I think, for MP. But we did like what we saw when we saw him leading. He's obviously a very likable man, and he's well respected in the dressing room. He's got high integrity, really good guy. He stays nice and calm, which I think the bowlers like a lot. And he's got a good deputy in Jitesh. Jitesh is certainly more energetic and excitable, but he's got the gloves on, and he's seeing when you've got the gloves on behind the stumps, you're seeing a lot of the game. It's a really good place to understand the game from. And I know Jitesh is a good student of the game, and he's tactically aware. So I think having them close to each other around the square area in the field is really useful. And it's also quite nice having the slightly different characters working together as a duo. But I'd also say that there are other very experienced guys in our dressing room it's really useful to have. Krunal Pandya is a very clever cricketer, and we saw him have, I reckon, probably his best season last year in IPL cricket. He's very determined to make contributions towards our cause again this year, and it's great having that sort of cricket intelligence out there with Rajat. Obviously, Virat, with all his leadership experience and playing experience, is great to have. And guys like Hazelwood are nice, calm influences. So leadership is not just about one person doing it. It's not just about two people doing it. It's about a group combining effectively and dragging more out of each other. And I think, I think this bunch does that quite well.
ಅದು ಕೊಡಲ್ವಾ ಎಲ್ಲ ಟಿಕ್ ಮಾಡಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಹೋಗಬಾರ್ದು अल्लाह तो बैटिंग हिंदी ना हाँ हिंदी हाँ वो बैटिंग कर रहा है ना सनराइजर्स में नहीं वही हम भी वही पूछ रहे हैं ಬಿತ್ತಾ ಅಲ್ಲ ಪಿ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇವ್ನು ನೋಡು ಕೋಚಿಂಗ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾವ ನೋಡಲ್ಲಿ ಅದೇ ತಗೋದು
உள்ளே போயிருக்கா ரொம்ப தானே ಚೀಫ್ ಸೆಕ್ರೆಟರಿ ಇದ್ರೆ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿಲ್ಲ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೋಗಿರ್ತಾರೆ
Yeah, brother.